Hello everyone, I'm Rivet, and I am competing in Twitch's 2020 cosplay contest as Caleb Widogast from Critical Role. I'm cosplaying his level 10 design, which is based on official art by Ornerine on Twitter. This was a very multidisciplinary project for me, but the majority of the project focused on textile customization and manipulation, so I'm choosing to enter it in the needlework category. Caleb's level 10 outfit involves multiple custom fabrics that did not exist prior to this project. By far the most labor-intensive part was the diamond pattern fabric for his tunic, which I wove on a table loom out of black and gray cotton linen yarn. I designed the pattern draft myself using a free software called Fiberworks that let me create a custom 4-2 twill design. I utilized the maximum width of my loom for this project, which was 32 inches, at 25 ends per inch, meaning that I had 800 individual warp threads that needed to be threaded into the heddles of my loom. The weaving draft used all 8 shafts of my loom, meaning that there were 8 groups of threads that would be raised or lowered depending on the positions of the levers that you see here. Even with that, to complete the pattern, I also had to sew horizontal running stitches by hand after every single repeat of the squares, about every inch or so. Once I got my loom set up correctly, I averaged weaving about 2 to 3 inches of fabric per hour, and I ended up making just under 3 yards or 108 inches for this project. An additional challenge in working with this fabric was that it was extremely stretchy on the bias and also rather thick, kind of like a tea towel, so I had to carefully grade my seams and also use fusible interfacing to prevent sagging and warping of the hand-woven fabric. Another type of fabric customization that I used for this project was metallic heat transfer vinyl onto a matte satin for the I created the tiling diamond pattern from scratch and vectorized it. The vinyl was cut in continuous 5-foot rolls on a Silhouette Cameo 4. I had to do a lot of troubleshooting to get a roll of vinyl with an intricate pattern such as this one to cut without distortion, as any slippage at all while the vinyl is spooling will cumulatively add up to very obvious errors. Once I successfully had my pattern cut on my 5-foot rolls of vinyl, I ended up using about 4 rolls. I only had to worry about lining up a few long edges to ensure the repeat of the pattern. The final customized fabric was the scarf. I designed the pattern in Photoshop and had it printed on a faux linen fabric from My Fabric Designs. I really wanted the colors to be as accurate as possible, so I ordered a big swatch block from the company before finalizing my design for printing. Another detail that I'm really proud of are the metal pieces of the costume. I know it's not needlework, but I have to bring it up. I made the belt buckle by using the sand casting method to go from a 3D print to a bronze casting. I modeled the buckle in Inventor, 3D printed it on an FDM printer using PLA filament, then sanded and finished the patterns for the buckle and belt tongue. These patterns were then used to create impressions in Petrobond sand, which I later poured the molten metal into. I melted and cast the bronze using a small propane burning furnace outside in my backyard. My current metal casting setup requires that I be outside with no rain or snow when I cast, which was a bit of a tall order in December and January when I was doing the majority of this metal work for this project. I also 3D modeled and cast some custom shaped buttons for the coat using 3D castable resin called PowerCast Burn. It was printed on a Photon S printer. The castable resin can be used just like wax in the lost wax casting process, which is what I relied on to get these extremely small, precisely shaped buttons. The most iconic part of the costume is the long purple coat. I drafted the pattern myself and did my best to utilize advanced tailoring techniques for a very clean, finished look. One detail that will never be seen in person now that the coat is assembled is the amount of pad stitching that went into the collar and lapels to get them to stand up in a very calculated yet rakish way. I also patterned and sewed some fall front trousers to match the supplementary art, the front of which will never be seen with the full costume on, and I also made the silly strappings of the spell component pouch on his thigh. The wig started out as a very beautiful, full, long, curly, feminine wig, which was ventilated by me to get a more masculine hairline, and it had a lot of hair chopped out of it during styling. Kayla Widogast's Level 10 outfit was one of the most interdisciplinary projects I've ever made, and I'm extremely proud of how it turned out. My goal was to be as clean and precise as possible, as the geometric nature of the design leaves very little room for error. Thank you so much for watching and for your consideration in this year's cosplay contest.